And that also brings me to introduce my next guest, Shelley Ware. Good morning.
Good morning, Troy. Getting me out of bed nice and early.
Well, I'm sure you don't sleep. Do you sleep in past 7:30 rubbish?
No, I don't really. You're quite right.
You don't probably jump on radio and put your face on screens this early.
No, waking up still.
Yeah, well, you look a treat. How are you today?
Great. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing well. How's your week been with NAIDOC? I'm surprised that I actually snagged some time with you, but how's it been? Have you been wheeled out on your wheelchair to come out for NAIDOC week and then wheeled back into your cupboard?
Well, apparently it's the only time Aboriginal Islander people can speak. So, apart from Reconciliation Week, let's not forget.
What do you think? What do you think about that?
I do think there is change. I do think that I am speaking more and more at different events and throughout the week, but it does still sadden me that people only think that, this is the time to speak about Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander issues, celebrations, beauty. So I think we're getting better, but have we got some way to go with that?
Someone asked before you jumped on today, what's going on? Has she got some power over the Marnbrook show? What's going on?
No, I have no power over that at all. I actually left the Marnbrook show a year before it got axed. So unfortunately, I was well and truly out of the picture by then. So no power. So sorry.
And that's where it did decline, didn't it? It was the start. It was the crack.
You think?
Oh, it was such a good show. What was it like presenting football? Did you know many of the Indigenous football players before you started that show? Like, are you involved in sport quite heavily yourself?
Yeah, well, a lot of those players I'd known. Look, I've been in the football industry for probably 20 years. Wow. But so it's been a while. So I did know a lot of them, and old lady talking now. I know quite a lot of them, and I know like a lot of the Port Adelaide boys because I grew up in Port Adelaide. Gavin Wanganeen and Shay Cockatoo Collins, like they were my friends growing up.
Right.
So like that's been my life, but a lot of them now are friends, and in that situation at Marnbrook, we pretty much just became friends and family. So and we still are to this day.
That was the beauty of the show as well, and I think I hope this show reflects that too, because it was beautiful to watch just a couple of people conversing in front of a table, and it was like obviously the footy show on Channel 9 was the only thing we had for so long. It was so many comments were all about keeping it fresh and refreshing and honouring our culture and the way we do things. What was the production like? I'm always interested to know. Was the production Indigenous as well, or were you in the back?
Not heavily, no. It was actually filmed out of RMIT, and it had a lot of students that were wanting to work in television.
Cool.
So it was good in the fact that it supported people that were interested in up and coming television. But I would say really, really low on Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people actually that wanted to work in production, which is a bit sad in itself, but it was heavy in RMIT students.
What's life like post, and we'll talk a little bit about your media stuff, but I also want to talk about your history and connection with your dad. But what have you been doing? You're also a school teacher.
Yes.
I loved hearing that when I met you the other day. You forgot I'm a school teacher. That's big time. That's big time.
Yeah.
Where do you teach, or what do you teach?
Well, actually, I've taken 2 years leave off teaching. So I've been a teacher for 20 years, I've worked a lot of that time at Kew Primary School, being a classroom teacher. Then I was a reading specialist, and I ended my time there as an art teacher, which was actually what I trained to be, was an art teacher. So it was really nice to finally get into the art room. And then there was an opportunity, Neville Jetta, who plays for Melbourne, actually coaxed me to head over to Parade College and work with the Aboriginal boys there and, to be an education officer. So I've been there for the last 2 years, and I work with 22 amazing young Aboriginal men, helping them get through high school and life and, supporting their families and working with them. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. Yeah.
Do you notice much consistency in men not having dads around, or maybe one of the parents not around? Is that what space do you think?
Actually, a lot of these kids have got both parents. We do have parents that are separated, some live with just their mums and some live with just their dads. But it's pretty consistent with the rest of the population.
Yeah. Oh, that'll been fun. Tell us a little bit about your connection to Adelaide. So, who's your mob?
So I'm Yankunytjatjara and Wirangu. So up to Ceduna, South Australia way is where most of my mob live. That I like on my dad's side. So so it's always nice to go back to Ceduna and head up there. But that's where Dad's buried. He's up there. He passed away at the age of 50. So he's sitting up there on Bookaby Mission. So next to his dad. So it's a beautiful place that they're buried up on the hill.
Not many women in football. I'm sure you get always asked, how do you do it? How do you do it? How do you do it? And
yeah, it has its moments, Troy. I'm not going to lie to you. They can be quite difficult. But it's all about that relationship building, really. So making sure that my computer doesn't go off.
Don't worry, I've done that a few times.
I left my charger in the other room. I think you're going to have to play a song soon. How do I do it? I have to do it often with a big smile on my face, but I think I spent my early years not wanting to challenge the system and just really grateful for being there. And then it went to a stage where I was like, hang on a minute, some of these things aren't quite right here. I've got to start saying a few things. And now I'm really at the point where I just say things. So, old age does that too.
Yeah, no more Miss Nice Lady. Do you actually need to charge your computer? Was that true?
I do. I thought I put it on charge all night, but turns out I didn't.
Do you want me to? I can play a song. I can play a song and you can go to that.
Where's guest Amber? You think I'd have some experience on this?
Not at 7:30 though. It's busy. No, go. You can go do that if you want. I'll play a song.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, go for it. What were we talking about? Yeah, women in football. Epic.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of the time, Troy, just being really grateful for being there. And I think that that's a problem that one Aboriginal people do and one women tend to do a lot of is being really grateful for being invited into what's essentially a men's space. So I've come to the realisation that that's not the truth of the space anymore and that there are things that need tidying up and I'd really like to be a part of that conversation and part of that change. So, and one of the things I'm really passionate about is racism in sport. And, because I don't know about you, Troy, but I feel like I have this armour that I've got on and I don't love properly. I don't try properly and I don't let people into my life as much as I could. And that comes from the racism and the being put down and put in my box all the time over the years. So I've just don't want that for our children. I want our children to love freely, live freely and do what they want to do with an open heart. And racism can take that away. So, if I can play my role in doing something about that, then it'll be the sword that I die on, I think.
We're constantly reminded on this show in particular about things that you think that are getting better. And it's very much, no, that is true. But that doesn't mean that it's great. Yeah,
well, it's not great. In the last 3 weeks, I've had people report to me 5 incidents of footy that's happened in second tier and junior football. They're screaming out for help because the system essentially isn't working. So, that's 5 people that have reached out to me. Like, who else has this happened to? Or who? The other side of that story is who hasn't spoken up about it. Accepted it as I can't do anything about this, and especially our young ones. So, it's not good enough that this is still going on. And people go, oh, it's 2021, surely it's not happening. Well, I actually feel like it's escalated a little bit, to be honest with you.
Far out.
It's frightening, but, if we don't stand up, if the elders don't stand up and we don't teach our kids to stand up and feel supported, then not that I'm calling myself an elder, I was calling other people an elder then. Just saying, I am old.
I was having this conversation with my wife yesterday just about the fight, how to approach the fight. Is it damaging? Is it dividing? Is it even worth my time when I'm walking away crying and broken? But the alternative is don't do anything. And it seems like everyone's getting away with everything. It's so delicate, and it's something that armor. That's the description of what you're saying about that armor is walking out your door as a First Nations person, as Indigenous person, and look, I think you're lucky if you don't look Indigenous sometimes. Like, at least you don't get picked on. But I mean, if I wear this T-shirt down in St Leonard's today with this beanie on, Laura calls it from clothing. It's a conversation starter. But we get it. We get it all the time. If someone knows you're Aboriginal, or you say, "Hey, yeah, I'm Aboriginal," like it's on, like, and it's not healthy. How do you balance? Sure, you've got the energy now and the drive to do it, but a lot of people don't, and the fight seems like it's maybe getting won by the opposition. Where do you find rest? Where do you dig into to get a recharge? You know.
Well, my recharge is like I will shut down social media. I'll make sure that I don't read the comments. I find that that's where you get a lot of the hate. So I don't delve into comments. You don't have to go far to get an idea of where society's sitting at the moment. And that's not all society, to be fair. But there's a large majority of people who get away with fake accounts and do what they do. But the drive is all about, I mean, I was raised that everything we do is for the next generation, so to make it better for the next generation. So I have that literally instilled in me. So I have to just keep going. And if I need to take that break, I will take that break, because you have to look after yourself to be able to look after others. We all know that too. And I just take the time. I'll spend time with family, go to a movie, shut out the world for a week or so. And that doesn't happen very often, because I'm pretty lucky that my mind is really quite strong, but I find that it will affect, I might get like a sore neck or, a bit of a headache or something like that. So that's sort of my gauge where I have to say, okay, physically, I've got to just take some time and really just step away from this. But I've got a lot of fight. So, I've got no problem standing up when other people can't, and I need them to stand up when I can't. Like we literally have to tag team this to get this done.
You talked about racism in football, and obviously on the field we know about some stories there, but off the field you had some things said about you in the media which you responded to with that armour. Can you tell us a bit? Can you say what was said?
I get all sorts of things. Their favourites is a little bit lazy, but they're quite committed with it. But it's just key emojis.
What is it?
Write some words, but geez, they're committed. They love, filling your whole Instagram posts with them. But you turn on, you've got 150, conversation starters in themselves. But the one's a classic for the lazy racist. And then you've got the racists that'll, put all these lovely posts about you. I had one recently who decided that he was going to take photographs of other Yankunytjatjara women and Wirangu women and then put my photo next to them. And, they don't make abos as well as they used to and all that kind of crap. And, but I just said, my reaction to that kind of thing, Troy, is that I wrote an open letter with a girlfriend, Dr. Kate Sear, who's a lawyer, to the Governor-General. And I said that I wanted to be a part of making sure that those fake accounts on social media weren't possible, and that there would be some sort of online law that would protect all people of minority groups. I hid behind the fact that it was Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander, but I really want this for, LGBTIQ community, for any minority, anybody. So, so I wrote to him, and we wrote a pretty good letter. I wrote what I wanted in the letter. She made it into the fancy lawyer letter, because she's a bit clever like that. And then we got 100 people to sign and asked if they would be signatories to it. And we did that in 36 hours. Wow. We had Stan Grant and Adam Goods and lawyers from Supreme Court lawyers right through to ex-Supreme Court lawyers. Then there's my brother who's a diesel mechanic, through to my girlfriend who's a librarian. There was just this broad spectrum of people, and I didn't want it just to be Aboriginal people. I didn't want it just to be AFL people. I really wanted it to be the whole entire community, so they could get a picture of that it affects everyone, and it does. It affects our allies as well. We spend some ridiculous amount of money, like $130 billion a year on solving racism in this country. imagine if we were proactive with that money, so it's actually ridiculous. But I got a really good feedback, and I don't know if your listeners actually know that 2 weeks ago there was a law that was passed, and it actually protects us to the point where there's a 24-hour window of takedown if nobody complies. It's in the stages of putting in place, so it was passed in Senate. So moving forward, if they don't remove it after, like a horrible post after 24 hours, they can actually be fined, or there's actual jail time of up to 5 years. And the fine is in excess of about $100,000. So to be a part of that is pretty special. We worked closely with the e-safety commissioner and sort of, we'd go back and forth, and she'd help me on what to do, what time was the time to make some noise, or, but she couldn't help me, but she was a good support in supporting me to keep going, so the right people were supporting me to be vocal.
I've never understood kind of whether or not to take social media seriously or not, but it's I think we've gotten to the point now where it is a pretty strong communicative space. Some great things can happen. Great things do happen. Yeah. There's a lot of great stuff.
This is happening.
Exactly. We're using all the social media platforms. It's sad but it's a reality. It's a reality. But it hurts, and comments can defame. So I think that's where you're kind of, when you're someone that's got a known face or does use online platforms to promote your work or to get work and to support your family, I think it takes that angle on it too.
Yeah, I definitely use social media for that. That's it. I do a lot of emceeing and a lot of public speaking, and I put that up because it is a promotional tool for me to be able to do that. And then people go, oh, is that what she does? And then, I get asked to MC something else and do that. So social media is our tool now. Like, majority of your listeners woke up this morning and turned their social media on first thing, and it'll be the last thing they do. I don't even really watch television anymore. Some little tunnel of some little videos all of a sudden, and and so it should be a joy, and it should be a safe place that people in minority groups, Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander, people of colour, LGBTIQ people, everyone can go to and feel safe and be able to have conversations and debates and post the things and put on radio shows. That's what it's for, joyful things and debates about how we can make this world better, not nasty and hate. That's not what we want.
Everyone's got a different view on rap programs. You had a daunting task, perhaps, to be not only just a female in a football club, but to come on to Carlton's program and instigate. Were you part of? Did they have a rap program in place? And
they did, and I probably came on in like the second year.
And how was that? What did you walk into? And not shining a poor light on any clubs, but we're obviously seeing some of the media shine light on the poor conditions around Collingwood. Sadly, Collingwood got put as the head of the whole bigger problem. Is it a bigger problem in AFL? A wider problem for AFL players and some people that you know really well. What's their view on the security and the support from their AFL clubs, and what was Carlton's like?
Well, I'll tell you what, every single club in the AFL crapped themselves. Like, they went and called all of the Aboriginal players. They made sure that they weren't in the same category. They made some really quick changes. It's a space, unfortunately, that people can often look like they're doing something.
Yeah.
They're not actually doing something. So a rap can actually make that kind of feel that, that club's got a rap, but then they can drop the ball. So if they don't have a working group or, a committee that meets regularly, then that's exactly what happens. And then, of course, the corporate dollars play a role. And then, hang on a minute, something else happens at the club. We've got to do this now. And it can just get pushed back and back and back, which is unfortunate. So you really do need strong people on the RAP committees to say, hang on a minute, what are you doing here? And there are definitely clubs that are doing it better than others. And I'd say at Carlton, there was probably a period over the COVID that when the world tipped upside down, and it's understandable, but at the same time, the conversations pretty much stopped. like
Right.
everyone was trying to find their feet, and it became about the fixtures. It came about, getting them to hubs and making sure. So sometimes things take over, but it was still there, but it wasn't as strong, and they were going so beautifully, but that's where we've got to learn, I think, in this situation, is that even when the world tips upside down, we have to remain focused on what's important, other than, trying to find out what fixture and who's playing what. And like Hawthorn did a fantastic job of not firing any of their community members. And so they were able to keep that going. Where a lot of clubs, community was the first thing they got rid of.
Wow.
Speaks volumes, and that's a problem in our society as a general still, that's not valued. Yeah.
And I think, would it be safe to say that a lot of the AFL clubs rely on the players to carry a lot of this work? Do they consult?
Some do. Some are really like we started the show with, some depend on them in reconciliation and NAIDOC week. And then the rest of the time just go ahead and do what you're doing, sort of thing. But it can be a problem in some clubs, definitely. And that's wearing too. You feel like it sort of starts to make players feel like they're just there for looks, and just for some of that black magic. And it's like, that's not who they are. They work hard. They don't just kick those goals because, that just happened. That's because they kicked that ball 1,000 times around a corner of a door for the whole entire, that week.
Yeah, they just practiced with a pair of footy socks in the hallway before they turned up, and now they're kicking 8 goals and getting a Norm Smith,
Black but everyone just thinks it's a bit of black magic. It's hard work. I mean, we do have a bit of black magic. Let's not say
it's true. Hey, I have this conversation quite a lot when we're sitting around other footballers, football lovers, and watching it, and they do say, "Oh, far out, they're magic on the foot." And I guess I do always go, just so you know, they are also training 5 times a week. Because it can be like, they've got something that no one else has got that they got given. It's free, and it's like, it's,
No, I've seen that guy kicking the ball 1,000 times more than the other people in his team. So it sort of has something to do with it.
Yeah. Someone just asked a question, and I don't know if you're well placed to talk about it, but Adam Goode's being pushed out of football. We've probably all watched that doco, or at least been told about it. Both of them, the Australian Dream and can't remember what the other one's called. That's poor form.
Final quarter.
The Final Quarter. There you go. And you'd know. Adam Goode's being back involved in football. What do you think? And how do you think it wasn't received well on social media, him not taking the AFL Hall of Fame award recently?
Why should he take that? That's an award that people have put in place to make the AFL in a position of power to, show who's worthy. So he knows his worth as a man. He knows his worth very much so, and he's proven that by the stance that he's taken. And he doesn't need the AFL to say to him, "Oh, we'll give you this award, and then you'll be worth more in this space." He's like, I know who I am and my worth. And he stepped away because they didn't support him, and it's a really sad time in our history. And those 2 movies that you're talking about, they're actually because we had to revisit that time. And we had to go back and highlight that this didn't work. And this is shame on this whole entire AFL space, and that we have to do things differently, and it can't happen again. And so that was brave in him doing that as well. And a lot of people think he's stepped away from football. That man is not stepped away. He does more than anybody that is in the public eye. His voice is very much a part of football still, and supporting Aboriginal players. And he is there for them at the drop of a hat. And he's a really kind, warm, gentle man, but he doesn't need public notoriety all the time. He doesn't need the AFL to tell him his worth. And he's still got his value in the AFL space. It's just not the way that the AFL would like it to be.
Yeah. Oh, very true. I've had enough conversations with people and about, shouldn't it be part of his healing that he takes that award? I think it's a nice sentiment to be able to say. It would be great if he felt comfortable doing that. But he doesn't, and guess whose choice it is? It's his.
Yeah, and maybe one day he will get into that space. But right now, the AFL and that side of the AFL has no value to him. So why fake things when it's not right? It's not right.
MCing is one part of your talent pool. You did some great things in podcasts and online stuff, which it seems like it's just taken a pause for the moment. Have you got anything in the works? I feel like you're someone that's an ideas person aside from just teaching. Have you got any ideas or anything you can...
I always have ideas.
Yes.
That's the problem. I'm a flurry of ideas. So I was doing Colour of Your Jumper, and we took a year off because everybody was just fried after COVID, the production crew. And we sort of shopped that around to a few places and nobody would pick it up. And we lost our spot on AFL.com because God forbid they have 2 Aboriginal shows in one space. Yeah. That would hurt. So we lost our space there. And also COVID impacted that as well, let's say. And then I still do Broad Radio, which is a women's show, but I get to do that during the school holidays because they film on days that I work, which is unfortunate. So Broad Radio is a fantastic one by Joe Stanley, and we talk about all women's issues, and it's a really fun show to be on. And I'm still on the Outersanctum Podcast, which is basically women talking about football, and been on that for a few years, and that's really good. And we're just looking for a new home there. We decided to leave ABC Radio because, that's been 6 weeks because we weren't able to actually talk about what we wanted to talk about. So, there was a lot of, oh no, you can't talk about that. You got to talk about this. So it just got to a point, like I said earlier, you just get to a stage where something's not right in a space and you got to talk about it. Otherwise things don't change. So we made a choice as a podcast to move on. And so we had a meeting with somebody yesterday and we're going to see how we go and find a space for ourselves again. But yeah, I've got some interesting ones interested in podcasts, maybe talking about Aboriginal education, because education is really, really important to me, about embedding Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander history into the curriculum. Teachers just don't know how to do it. Like, we're essentially asking a generation that were denied an education of their own country's history and teach it. How do they teach it when they don't even know it?
I'll answer that question. Can you help? Resource us up. We've got not just for teachers, but homeschool parents, parents in general.
I've got on my website about 3. Like, if you go to my website, I've worked with Culture is Life, the video you saw at the start, if you caught it. And we did the Adam Goods, helped write the resources for his story and the Australian Dream. And Uncle Archie Roach, we did his work for the Stolen Generation around his book, Took the Children Away. So there are some fantastic videos in there that we had elders from around the country talk about their experiences with the Stolen Generation. And they're little 10-minute videos, the same with the Adam Goods situation. And they've got resources and questions that homeschools parents can ask their children, like it's all there, and classes can use it as well. And I've written the last 3 years NAIDOC week resources, so they're up there too, and they're just a click, so they're easy access. But there are so many resources. Like, if you put in picture storybooks, are like some of my favourite things in the world. If you put in Aboriginal picture storybooks, you will literally trip over them on the internet.
Oh, wow. That's brilliant.
Like, they're everywhere,
Brilliant.
And so many beautiful stories that you can pass on and work, and there's art you can do with that, story writing and dance and music and songs, and there's so much you can do.
It's good because we've got some teachers on here. I know a couple of my friends on here are homeschoolers, homeschool teachers, but also teachers at my old school. And I know that my former school, and now where Chris's son's going, is they're really trying to start somewhere, and they've got a bit of dead wood that needs to die off. They all have
a bit dead wood. I always say that. Just wait for some people to die. It's terrible. But there is a lot out there for people homeschooling, and I'm always happy to help people as well. But I do a lot of teacher. Like yesterday, I was with 450 teachers online with art, teaching teachers how to respectfully teach Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander art in the classroom, without copying. So anyway, so I do a lot of that. So it's good fun.
Talking about hill country, what's your country like when you go home? Give us a landscape. Is it leafy? Have you got a river? Whereabouts is your?
So I'm the desert to the sea.
Ah.
Desert meets the sea kind of girl. But yeah, the beautiful cliffs and beautiful, these great Australian bight, like there's Sejuna Way. So we got all the fish, we got all the oysters. And, we're very, very blessed with seafood. So when I come back here and I get seafood, it's a bit like...
Frozen.
And that's my dad's thing. He goes, if you can't see the sea, you don't eat the...
So good. The comments are going off in the chat line, and awesome, Shelley, so brilliant. Our girls' grade 4 teacher did well this year, but I'll pass this on to him and the school to continue to improve their whole school curriculum. That's from the Fizz. Such good work you're doing, Shelley. Thanks, Jano. How lovely is Shelley? Awesome work and informative interview too, Shelley. That's from the Squiz. If you want to find out a little bit about Shelley's info that she's talked about, got some great links. I've got it up here. It's shelleyware.com.au. Not hard to forget that one. Shelley, I'm so grateful that you've turned up today, and I know it's been a long time coming, but thanks heaps for joining.
Thank you.
And you don't have to come on and just on NAIDOC week. You can come on any week you want to.
Funny that. This is a space I can come on any week.
Yeah. I don't want to wheel you out. You know what? I'll prove it. And you're going to come out. Promise us you'll come back on within 3 months.
Sounds like a plan. I'd love that.
All right, good. I'm glad this is recorded. Have a great day and happy NAIDOC. And
happy NAIDOC, everyone.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Hey, before you go, you got a song request? You can pump it up. What's your go-to songs?
I'm a bit of a Bruno Mars fan, or I love a bit of Archie Roach. I love, Dan Sultan. You were just saying that you play him out of the way.
we can play him again. Give us.
Yeah, I just love all. Troy Casadei. I love him as a storyteller. There's. I'm one of those people that can't remember the name of a song or the lyrics. I make them up myself.
Do you know I'm the same?
Radio show.
I'm the same, and I still play music like you wouldn't believe on this show, and I still don't know. I don't pay attention to any of the lyrics or the person singing it.
I'm just making them up as I go.
I know the catchy chorus.
Yeah.
All right, we'll find some Dan. Thanks, Shelley. Again, we'll see you soon.
See you, darling. Thank you.